Nigel Farage is a racist. Well, that's what many are saying, folks. Do I think he is? No, I don't. No, I don't agree, as I say, with absolutely everything he says, but I do think he talks a lot of sense. Let me tell you now, 8, 10, 12 years ago, when this Brexit thing was really getting going and you've seen a lot more of old Nigel on the TV, there were a lot of people, white, male and female, especially in my age group and older, that were all for Nigel. They loved all he was saying. They were eating it all up. They were thinking, well, it was getting harder out there. It was getting tougher out on the streets. Money was getting tighter. They were seeing a lot of ethnicities coming into the country and whatever else, you know, and they were unhappy. And they would say, well, Nigel, he's talking for us. He's talking a lot of sense, blah, 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 blah. Now, some of them, I mean, my mum and dad really liked him. The mother-in-law, God, she really liked him. Honestly, if he'd have asked her for a night out, she'd have offered him 2. No, but you've got a lot of older people, and probably this. What did Meghan call some of the royal family, like unconscious racism or whatever else? I think there's a certain age group in this country that are a bit that way. They don't know they are. They don't mean to be, but the thoughts that they have and the way they portray them comes across as racist, and maybe there is a touch of it in there, and it shouldn't be, but it's how they were brought up, and it's all of the times. I'm an older fella now. I'm in my early 60s now and whatever else. I've got no problem with anybody of any colour, any ethnicity, anything whatsoever, as I've said in the past, as I've said in the intro video. Don't care what colour you are, don't care where you were born, don't care what sex you are, don't care what sexual orientation you have, don't care what religion you are, anything, not bothered at all. If you are nice with me, I am nice with you. If you like me, I no doubt like you. If you're awful with me, I can be worse than you. Don't worry about that. But I get on with everybody, especially people that make an effort, because I like to try and make an effort. But I've heard a couple of things he said. Was it yesterday as he come out of the jungle? He's warned off Kevin Ligo, that's the big cheese at ITV, and he said another couple of things. And I thought it was brilliant what he said, because he did like a 10-minute speech. All I'm pretty sure we know prompts. If there was prompts there, that's all they were. It couldn't have all been written out. There was so much there. It was absolutely spot on. I thought it was really, really good. And he's saying again what he said to the black girl in... See, I feel uncomfortable saying black girl. I want to say coloured girl, but I know I'm not allowed to say that anymore because coloured is offensive. And when we were growing up, we were calling anything that wasn't white coloured. And blacks, I believe, don't like that now. But I've only heard that 3-4 years ago. I sort of can understand why... But I couldn't understand why initially until it got shown me and told me and whatever else. I get it now, but I'm always worried that I'm going to say the wrong thing. But if I do, it's not meant, I promise you. But that black girl, I mean, I thought, as I said, she was just after an argument, trying to poke him and hoping to do her best. And she didn't get the response she wanted. She did it with old Freddie Boy as well. It didn't work out. I think her popularity went down, and rightly so. But what Nigel was saying to her was, there's too many people now coming over. She said, I've come over, blah, 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 blah. And he was trying to say, I'm not saying before. That's happened now. It's gone. Nothing we can do about that. But we need to stop people coming over now. And at first, as I've said in the past, folks, I'm not a political person. So I wasn't even on the correct page to start with when he's speaking. I'm thinking he means all these people. I'm thinking he's meaning all these people coming over on the boats. And he is to an extent. But the main ones he's getting at is the people that are coming over illegally on planes and allowed to come. I think he said we've had 750,000 people from different countries, different ethnicities, you know what I mean anyway, in the last 12 months. And he said it's got to stop because we can't cope with it. Now many will say, like that black girl said on I'm a Celebrity, yeah, but if you didn't have them all over, look at your hospitals, your NHS and blah, blah, you wouldn't have enough staff. Most of your staff is foreign, same in care homes. And I get that, it's spot on. But what he's saying, he says at this moment in time, people are struggling to get properties because there's so many from everywhere. He said we've got an explosion anyway in the population in the world. We have done for the last 20, 30 years. People are having more babies and whatever else. He said, but as more and more come into this country, and it's only a small country, it's not a huge country, it's getting overpopulacised, and it is. He's saying they're coming over in the thousands, and he says it's the massive corporations that want cheap labour, and they want people to come over because they're paying them cheap. They're getting away with blue murder and making an absolute killing. But it's killing the country. And he says it's got to stop. And when you listen to him and he puts it that way, you can understand where he's coming from. He said, so many are coming over, people are struggling to get homes. So many people, so many are coming over. People are struggling all the time on roads and on motorways to get where they want to go because the motorway is absolutely crowded. He said people are struggling for doctor's appointments, and everything he's saying, everything is spot on. You can't get a doctor's appointment. You can't get a dentist appointment. You can't get a hospital appointment. Everything they can do with you, they do over the phone wherever possible because they don't want to see you face to face because they've got no time for you. That's number one. Number two, the cars, the motorways are absolutely rammed. And when I say rammed, I mean rammed. They've been like it for 20, 30 years. I live near the M6 now. It's a glorified car park. The M62 can be bad. The M6 is much worse. I believe the M20, is it the M20? It's the worst motorway in Britain. The M6 can be like that. I used to go down streets when I was a kid in where I live in Warrington, and there'd be no cars about. Most families didn't have cars. The ones that did, would have one car. You go down the streets now that were built for a car or two per family, and there's families with 3 and 4 cars because all children have got cars. Honestly, there's 2, 3, 4 and 5 cars in a family. It's crazy. There's no room for them all. And as more and more and more people come over, they're going to want cars. Homes, you might say, well, they've not all got the money to buy homes over there, but they've got to live somewhere, people that come over. There was a time 3 years ago in this town in Warrington, it was all in the press. I think there was a massive exodus of people. I think it was from Hong Kong, if memory serves. You see, Warrington's always been pretty much a thriving town. Business-wise, it's been very good. But the great things with Warrington is, it's right in the middle of the big motorway networks. You've got the M6, the M62, the M56. You can get everywhere from Warrington. It's brilliant as a motorway link. And the property in the main is pretty good in Warrington. And they were coming over in droves from Hong Kong. They had loads and loads and loads of money. Most of the homes over here were being bought by agents based in Hong Kong who set the stall over here. And they were just buying property after property after property and then selling it on to Hong Kong residents. And what they were doing is, if I'm putting my house up next week for, say, 300,000, say it's worth 300,000, you'd have 4 or 5 people coming along to look at it at 300,000. And one of these agents from Hong Kong would come in and gazump them and go for 350, not for 5 grand more or 10 grand more. They go 30, 40 or 50 grand more. Just blows everybody away, wipes everybody out, and they get the house. And it's in at the press in Warrington at the time. People, young uns, couldn't get on the property ladder because all the property was being bought by people from the Far East. It was crazy. Those things did happen. So what Nigel's saying there about these people coming in did happen. I don't mean these people, I don't mean in a derogatory way. It did happen. What he's saying about roads being rammed, it's happening, it's there all the time. What he's saying about hospital and doctor's appointments and dentists especially, it's there all the time. And yes, we may have many different ethnicities and people from different backgrounds, different countries, serving the national health and care homes and whatever else. But at the end of the day, a lot of them are doing it because they're cheaper than we're paying white English people, and that's wrong in itself. And if we train the white English people that aren't working and are on the dole and whatever else, they could fill all those positions up anyway. I've got nothing against people coming over here. I've got nothing against anybody. But to call Nigel Farage racist for just talking some common sense, I think is a step too far. As I've said, I'm not a political animal. I'm not a follower of any party. People say on here, well, you shouldn't be saying this if you never voted for anybody. I've never voted for anybody. But as I said on here a couple of weeks ago, if you gave me Farage, Sunak or Starmer, I'd go with Farage every minute of every day. He says more that I believe in. I think he's not afraid to say what he thinks. And for all he's let himself down the odd time by going back on what he said, in the main, even if it's only probably 80% of the time, he carries out what he says he's going to carry out. I don't think the other two do it 50% of the time. And they'll just hit you with a barefaced lie. Whereas Nigel, even if he's got to say something that goes against him, or something that goes against what he said a year, 2, 3 years ago, he'll just tell you the truth. He'll say, well, yeah, and I might have said that, but needs as needs must, and now I say this. I think he's more upfront. I think he's more honest. I really do. And at this moment in time, I'm not saying him for PM or anything like that, but we need somebody to get hold of this country and run it that we can put a bit more trust in. And I think we probably can with him, at least more so than the other two anyway. But I might be wrong. But to call him a racist, they were calling him in the jungle, and ITV had an agenda against him. And people are now saying with what he said yesterday, I'm reading bits where they're saying, oh, he's racist, he's this, he's that, he can't lead the country, he's talking through his backside. I'm not so sure he is. And I know people of my age group, especially middle age and older age and white skin, get called for these opinions, but I think in the main he's right, and I do believe I'm not racist, and I don't want to be, I don't mean to be, but this country really is buckling under the amount of people that are coming into it. They're coming in absolute waves, and they'll keep coming in waves because we just keep letting people in and giving and giving and giving, and we just keep giving, we just do. Not that I'm saying I believe we're putting them on planes and taking them to Rwanda. I think that's awful. You know, either don't let them here to start with and go to other countries, or let them go to Rwanda of their own accord. But I'm not for putting people on planes and taking them to another country. I just don't get that at all. The same way I'm not for people living on barges and whatever else. I believe somebody's have they killed themselves today, or suicide on one of the barges. It's hardly surprising. You wouldn't want to live on one of those, but that said, what can we do? You know, we're closing hotels down, and we've got entrepreneurs buying up hotels to put them in because they're getting millions and millions off the government. We're just paying out, and we will keep paying out until somebody gets a proper grip of it and stops things in the tracks. And at this moment in time, nobody looks to have the backbone or the wherewithal to do that. I'm not saying Nigel will have, or would have, but he might have more chance than the rest. Anyway, that's it for me. But Nigel racist? No, I don't think so.